And
Evening.
we are live. Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's good. Hope you're good, Tom.
Evening, yeah, good. You?
Yeah, really good. Really good.
Good stuff.
Could be Friday as always. Now, there's only two of us at the moment. But Jay is not with us this evening. He is out with his young lady, or his missus, should we call her? So he's out with the missus, and Steve's working, but he said he might be able to join later on. So you just got us two this evening, which I'm sure will be fine. We'll do the roll call in a moment. So first of all, how you doing, Tom? What's been going on?
What's been going on? I've been to more LFSs in the last 7 days than I think I have in the last 7 months.
Really?
No, it's been going well. Yeah, it's been. I've got to You're not buying another frag. You're not having another frag. Yeah, I'm just going to slow it down. No, it's been good. It's been good. I went to Signature, obviously met Jay last Sunday. That was good.
Yeah,
that were eye opener. I've not been before, so that was good. I've been to Andy at Radical a couple of times. Been to my LFS Fit Filtration at Sheffield and had a couple of bits. And yeah, I need to stop now and just let things just settle, let things mature. Otherwise, I'm going to contradict myself.
Well, you've got so much space. You could put
I know,
frags in, and you'd be good as gold, wouldn't you? That's the problem.
I know, but again, there's quite. I've got to stick to what my original plan was, which was coral placement, colour contrasting, and not just cramming everything everywhere. So otherwise, like I say, I'll be an hypocrite and contradict myself. So yeah, there's a few tester pieces that have gone in that will probably get moved on, but hey ho, that's the hobby. So yeah, but everything all right so far. Not lost anything yet, touch wood. So we're all right. So I'm happy. Yeah.
Cool. So before I forget, I got this. So I talked about last week. There was a really good deal on that Oasis.
Oh yeah.
Because they're moving, Steve was saying. So I picked this up for 75 quid. It said 120 quid on the box. And then when I look online, there's a lot of places selling these for about 130 quid. So I've had one of these before. Right. Really good pumps I've found in the past, and also the controllable. So that's going to go in the tank behind. And I want it controllable because I've got no idea whether I have to set it really low or slightly higher, because I've never had something like this in the Nano before. So what I don't want is to create an absolute storm in the tank.
I've not used one before.
I think they were selling other things this week as well.
Oasis,
yeah. So they had Ecotech before. They had AI stuff. They had this tons in. I'm sure there was some other stuff this week that was pretty good value as well. So keep an eye out for that. They usually post it on Facebook. But if you're in the market for different stuff, I think I don't know if they've still got the Ecotech, but they had some, they had Vortex, that's right. They had Vortex for sale this week. I think they were selling MP40s for about 240 quid, and I think they're about 310, 320.
Wow.
So really good value.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased. I'll be putting that in the weekend and see how that goes.
I've put urchins in for the first time as well, actually. I forgot to say. I've never had urchins before. Never really been my cup of tea, but my Corris Ras just said you're not having snails because she kind of has a bit of an appetite for them. So it was either snails or the Corris Ras, but I like the Corris Ras. I want to keep her because she's obviously good for pest control. So yeah, we had to go down a different avenue. And to be fair, Liam, Drippy, a few other people, Alex and Fit recommended them. So I got a good deal between the two shops. So yeah, I've put 5. I thought large was going to be sort of tennis ball size, but they're not. They're sort of, golf ball size. And I put 3 smaller ones in, which, again, to be fair, Liam pointed out that the smaller ones are good for nooks and crannies to really get in there where the larger ones can't. So, like I said, I've never used them before. So, fingers crossed, we shall see. But yeah, in 24 hours, they've made a bit of a difference. The missus noticed it earlier. So, I was like, positive steps. So, hopefully, get control of this nuisance algae I've got at the minute. So, we'll see.
They just hoover up. I had one in here, and that was my first one. So I've never really had them before, and I then wonder why I haven't had them before, because they're pretty good. They just go round all the time, just hoovering up. But of course,
it's just habit.
Yeah,
just habit for me. Snails and crabs. But like I say,
yeah, absolutely.
Corris Rassett just said it with a knife and fork, just sat at the dinner table. So better not.
Yeah. Cool. Right, we'll come back to our tanks in a minute, but let's just see who's knocking around. So first today, Rennie's Reef is first. So whoop whoop to you, Rennie. You're first in the house.
Evening.
Usually, there's other people that are in early doors, so good to see. I think usually Chris is early. MK Reefer, good evening to you. Rigsy of the 69, good evening to you.
Evening.
Hope you're.
Evening, John.
Is Jill? Hiya, Jill. Hope you're well. We know we can go back to Gil. Jay's not here to not be able to read. Loving that logo. Hi, Stuart. Hope you're well. Oh, Joe's back. She's on. She's back from Lanzarote.
Oh, dear.
Joe, good to see you.
Yeah.
Scott's watching us on the big TV screen. If I'd known Scott, I would have put some makeup on, but even makeup's probably not going to help me. So where's he on? He's multitasking. It's never going to work, Scott. So he's and then he radical aquatics. I've got something on Facebook. Yeah. So yeah, because I'm going to meet you up there in March, aren't I?
Yeah, looking forward to it, mate. Yeah, looking forward to it.
We'll sort that out. That'll be good. I haven't told Jill yet, but she gets dragged around this LFS. So that won't be a problem.
Just normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and to be fair, the last time we went to the LFS, which was AAC, I wasn't going to buy anything. She saw a really nice pink Goniapora, and we ended up walking out with a pink Goniapora. And I really don't want any more calls, so that's in the
bonus.
In the garage. Yeah, I don't know if it's a bonus or not because I wasn't going to buy anything. So quite often when I go there,
you have to pay. You have to pay.
I bought this one. But the last one was she bought and we put it in there. But of course, that was the one that I've lost. I had the bacterial infection before the dinos. So she's actually said, you can pay for it because I'll pay for it. You just kill it again. So that was really good feedback.
Oh, right. Okay. I was going to say, technically, if she bought it last time and it died, then you would have kept your receipt and it's her time to replace it. Would it not be?
Yeah. No.
Come on, you can work your magic, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, she's bought Apex stuff and all kinds of things for me for
really?
Christmases and birthday and things like that. So if I needed a kit for birthday, she's good as gold on that. So yeah, I can't complain. Chris is in the house. Hi, Chris. Hope you're well.
Evening.
Techers, good evening to you. Reef 216, good evening to you. Hi, Eddie. Good evening. OnlyFins is in the house. Good evening to you.
Evening.
We've got Merrick. How you doing, Merrick? Hope you're well. John's Reef UK. Good evening to you. We've got the one-armed reefer. Hiya. Good to see you. Reefer 350 mix. Good evening to you. Where are we? Haley. Good evening to you, Haley. Hope you're right. We've got Drippy Reef. Low on Hardy tonight. This should be interesting. Yeah, thank you for the vote of the. I
wonder who's who.
Oh, he'll tell us in a minute. Maybe he'll watch and then he'll find it and then he'll do it. Oh, dear, don't start him off.
Dear.
Hi, Oliver. I wish I hadn't put it up now. There we go. We've got Martin. Urchins are brilliant. Does more than 20 snails. Yeah, fair point.
Fingers crossed.
They are hoovers. And of course, they go up and down the glass as well. I mean, snails do tend to as well, but not. I don't find very often. Not as much as urchins do. Hiya, Paul Davenport, My Little Lagoon. Good evening to you.
Evening.
We got Jim Green 83. Hiya, how you doing? And then last but not least, we've got Paula Lord. Good evening to you. Right. Okay. So, anything else in the tank before we move on from tanks?
No, frags and urchins. That's it, really. Like I say, we're never going to add any more fish, so I'm happy with the fish. Obviously, I didn't want to risk bringing anybody else in at this time. Everybody's been in, 5 months now? 6 months? Yeah. 6 months, first week in March. So, yeah, still over the 5-month mark, which I'm quite proud of myself with. It's got to be the longest wait ever with a tank of ours, put anything in. So, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I don't want to then go full hog and put too much in. Do you know what I mean? In case there's any tweaks that are needed. So, I'm just, nutrient levels are pretty much really low, obviously, with me running the Zeolite system. So I'm having to keep an eye on those at the minute. But yeah, other than that, the lighting, a little bit too bright. So I had to turn the lighting down. So when I went to Signature, spoke to Christian, he's focusing on around 250 power, 200 power. And I was getting like 600 at the top with his coral cares. So I thought, yeah, better turn that down a little bit. Last thing I want to be doing is bleaching anything if it's used to 250.
So what kind of intensity did you have on to hit 650?
85% at the top. So yeah, turn it down to 70 now because I'm just going to bring it down gradually. I don't want to shock everything because there's a few things in there that are used to it, but because of where they're stationed, as in where they're placed in the tank, they won't be getting that. They'll be getting less. So I don't want to be lowering it too much in the sense that they get not enough, if that makes sense. So
yeah, because they're not. I mean, that's 600. That's right. Is that top of the scape or top of the water? 600.
No, top of the scape. So where the PC Rainbow, you can't really see it. It's up somewhere about there behind me. Move my head. Yeah, move my head that way. You can see it.
Yes,
there.
I can see it. I just see little pieces sticking up. Yeah, absolutely.
That was about that was 600 before I placed it, and then I lowered it, and now it's at about 400. Which we'll see what happens. But it's happy. Polyps are out on everything.
But that's the because it would start sulking, wouldn't it? If it had too much, it'd probably start sulking and start losing its colour.
Yeah, I think we read too much into PAR these days. I think there's far many other parameters that are more important. But yeah, I know that there's enough light in the tank. So tick. You know, it's easier to bring it down than it is to fight not having enough. So with SPS anyway.
I think we said before. I think with lights as they are today, I don't think there's so much of an issue in getting enough light. Now, if you haven't got enough light, you might have an issue with spread and stuff like that. But in terms of one light, will that do both softies right up to the highest SPS? I don't think that's going to be a problem if it's not growing. Now, your coral stuff like that will come on.
The flow was a bigger issue, which I've rectified, which I'm more happy with now. So yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But other than frags and urchins, it's just going through a bit of an ugly stage at the minute. But again, such is life. Crank lights up, don't think about acclimatizing things, and wallop a lot of nuisance algae. But such is life.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we'll come on to my tank in a moment. I'm just going to start the first poll because, as it says in the title, we're talking about corals tonight. And the first question is, what shall we discuss first? Should we discuss SPS, LPS, or softies, which includes anything else? So I'm just going to start that poll so you can help us in terms of what we discuss first of all. They're quite broad subjects. I think LPS, actually, you've probably got a wider range of LPS in terms of placement and coral care than SPS. But I could be wrong. Be interesting to see what people think on that. But just let us know what you think. So let's move on to the tank here. So I posted this week post on Instagram that I'm beginning to see the white sand, which is a good sign. I'm still carrying on. I mean, the nutrients, the phosphate is 0.2, which is probably the highest I've had in any tank. The nitrate, so about 40, because I'm doing no water changes. I'm using Phyto every day, Miracle Mud once a week, Bacteria once a week, feeding the normal amounts on that. I'm using silicates every day, and I'm beginning to see diatoms and cyano on the bottom. What I will do in the weekend, I'm going to get the microscope out. So I'm going to probably do 4 or 5 different spots and try and see what the dinos are doing. And hopefully I won't see as many as I did before. And it'll be interesting to see what does diatoms look like under a microscope, because I've never really seen that. And also what else I've got knocking around in there. So once the dinos are gone, I can then stop the silicates and then throw loads of cleanup crew in there.
No, okay.
And that's so I've only got 2 crabs left in there. So that's the only cleanup crab crew I've got. I've got bubble algae that's going mad because bubble algae loves nitrate. So I'm actually just hand picking because I've got no emerald crab, and I'm not going to put an emerald crab in because I'll probably end up killing it if it's got dinos in there. So I've got very little cleanup crew. So the bubble algae's gone mad the last 7 days. I spent probably a good 45 minutes picking it out with tongs, which is a crap job.
You've got to try not to pierce it, haven't you, from memory? I've not had it in
years. It's really weird because online there seems to be conflicting. People say you can, and some people say you can't. I mean, when an emerald crab eats a bubble algae,
pinches it. Yeah,
it probably doesn't eat it. I mean, it could eat it in one go, but I doubt it. So if that's the case, it would never clear up. So I don't know is the answer. I can ask different people and I get different answers. I don't know if there's a definitive answer on that or not. I don't know.
I always thought it was the spores. I always thought it was the spores you were trying to control. But again, it's been years since I had it.
That's what I thought as well. So I do try to not bust them. So I do my best to try and take them out whole. You get the odd one that you just can't help, but I'd say the vast majority I'm able to get out of the tank without busting them. So it's just that's just a ball ache. I hate doing it, but if I don't, it's going to take over, and then they start growing on your coals and upsetting your coals, and then and I've got quite a few on the sand as well. So that's why I want to put the pumping, because hopefully it will just stir it up a little bit, and then I can just net it out. So what I sometimes do is get a toothbrush and use the toothbrush on the rock a little bit.
Yeah.
Turn the power heads up and then just net them out.
So
that's another way of doing it as well. But corals look really good. The only thing is the bubble coral has got too close to the chalice, and it's stung about 10% of it.
Yeah.
But I mean that'll sort itself. So I'm going to get rid of the bubble coral, because if I increase the flow, bubble corals and flow.
It does look a lot whiter, to be fair, behind your shoulder. It does look a lot whiter than last week. Look better.
Yeah, it's gradually increasing. The thing I don't want to do is stop the stuff I'm dosing too soon, because then of course it will come back, because you've got to eradicate it all. So I'm going to test this weekend with the microscope and then see what happens, and then we'll go.
Put the microscope over the carpet. See if Jill's missed anything. If you're brave enough.
That was. Yeah.
Maybe not. Sorry, I'm being chauvinistic tonight. Sorry.
No, that's
apologise,
fine.
Ladies. Apologise.
That's okay. Should say, if I don't like it, do it yourself. That's a fair point. But we have it's kind of old school. We have blue jobs and pink jobs.
Pink jobs, and yours are the pink ones, yeah.
Well, a bit of a mix. My favourite colour is pink, to be fair. But no, so I get the blue jobs, which is like toilet. Sorry, this is the reefing show. I get the toilet, bins, dog poo, all that kind of stuff. Can you imagine? I get all that kind of stuff. But
it's your own dog's poo, though. You don't go around just picking random poop, do you?
No, that would be weird. Would that be weird? I mean, would anyone? I don't know. Quite a few people got dogs in the chat, because quite often my dog starts barking and everyone else's dog starts barking. And I get comments saying, "Shut your dog up."
Shut your dog up.
I don't know. No, I'm not. I wouldn't do that. That's just.
Anyway, we digress. Sorry. Friday humour. Apologies.
Yeah. So the tank's looking good. I can't wait to put more corals in it, but I'm not going to do that, because the nutrients in this tank are miles higher than any other tanks. If I put corals in there, they're probably going to sulk. So I need to get this down to at least 0.1 on the phosphate and probably about 20 on the nitrate. If I could do that, then I could probably start bringing corals over. But
it depends on what are the corals you're bringing over are used to. Personally, from experience.
Yeah, so it's a bit different. So it's about 0.1 and 20 in one of the tanks, and the other one's quite clean. So it's about 0.06 and about 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the tanks are quite different.
Some difference.
Yeah, only because the one that's really low has got no maintenance on it at all. It's got a roller filter. It's got a skimmer.
Is that the one with the Red Sea mat you've got in it?
No, that's the one with the Clarity. But that's old. That's 4 years old, and it just chugs along. Stable. Really good. So very rarely do I do a water change. I only do a water change if the sump is looking disgusting, and so about twice a year I'll hoover up the sump. Nice. That's all I do on that one. Right, let's have a look at the poll. And so I'll tell you what I do. I do the comments first, so I'm up to date. Where are we? Gills occurring. We got a top hat from Abyss. And I put it on the urchin. Yeah, Ross used to have those. You can get the 3D printed.
I've seen them. Actually, Joe. Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah. They look quite cool. They glow up, I think, under blues as well, if you get the right colour one.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake Adams said you can pop bubble coral as no spores.
Oh, really? Right.
Absolutely. Do they get pierced when the crabs? Yeah, I can't see. Yeah. I mean, you get really small bubble algae. You get some really biggies. I can't see how a crab could fit that in their mouth. It's just not going to. So, yeah.
Unless they use chopsticks, I don't know.
Maybe it's still can't get it in the mouth though. The mouth is only so big, regardless if you use a knife and fork or a spoon and fork. You don't want the knife
exactly.
And palate, you have to spoon it.
No, but to be fair, last time I had it, when I looked, it was definitely the spores that were conversation. But again,
Yeah.
If you're saying there's evidence to say it's not the spores, then fair play.
I'm not too sure there's any evidence that says it either way. You hear people say, but I'm not too sure. I haven't seen anything or read anything to say it's actually been proven. There might be something out there. So you just go by what people say. And you know, for years I've seen things saying, well, actually the spores don't pop them because they'll just spread. And then you see the odd posters say that's just a myth. That's just a towel. Yeah. You go, Martin saying, I think spores are more of a problem when it gets big. I just jab them out with a screwdriver. Don't come back. Good point about emerald. They don't suck them up. Yeah, absolutely. So no, they're all sorts of hats. Right. Okay. Let's go to the poll and end the poll. Right. So we've got 33% SPS, 56% LPS, 11% Softy, and that's it. So I'm going to end the poll. Thank you very much for all those that have taken part. 27 votes. Thank you for that. Right. So let's get on to the subject of LPS. So should we start with let's start with dipping. Do you dip your corals or not? Which I suppose goes across all of them.
Yeah.
So as a rule, do you dip your corals? And if so, are there some that you don't dip for whatever reason?
Are you asking me?
Yes, you.
And the audience.
You, and I'm going to.
Yeah, I always dip. I always dip.
Right.
I've tried many dips over the years, and I just make my own. It's just it's not make my own. Just buy potassium chloride and just mix it, and that's what I've always used. Well, not always used. What I've used over the last few years. It's cheap. It's effective. You can't put too much in. And it's always worked for me. But LPS, I'm not really experienced in. I've had mixed tanks in early days in the hobby, but the last few tanks I've had have been mainly sticks and Montes. So, and I have still, even though I've dipped, I have still, unfortunately, experienced things getting through that shouldn't have got through. So, again, cutting bases off, frags, mini colonies, whatever you want to call it, where eggs are present, flatworm eggs, etc. Things like that.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, we'd all love to have the money to be able to have a quarantine system, wouldn't we? Let's be honest. Or, to be able to put things through quarantine like, fish go through. But unfortunately, that's not the case in this day and age in the hobby. So I think you've just got to be a little bit militant, really. I think for me, it's if you've put a lot of money and a lot of art and soul into your tank, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to cut a corner. So I think definitely be dipping, turkey baster, blowing anything off that you don't like the look of. You'll kill some good guys, unfortunately, as well as the bad guys. But unfortunately, that's just what you have to do. You have to be a tough love, really. I think. You won't be saying that in a month's time when your coral's been eaten from the base up or whatever.
Yeah, I think if I was to put SPS in, I would always dip, always take off the base. And use a dip on LPS. And what I started to do recently is not dip so much. So I you don't really need to. I don't think you really need to climatize corals that much. There's a bit of a mixed bag on that.
I agree.
I end up leaving them in a tub that's usually white for about 90 minutes. I put it on top of the tank so it gets the heat, and then every so often, I'm either putting a power head in if it's quite a few corals in a bucket or something like that to watch to see what comes off. Because I've read quite a bit that actually they can bring in really good bacteria, different strains of bacteria and stuff that's really good for the tank. So it's like you hit it on the head that you're not just killing the pests, you're killing good stuff as well. And I suppose you then got to decide what's more important. I think like yourself, you're doing SPS. The fact of killing the good guys is a good sacrifice for taking off things like aqua-eating flatworms and things like that, because that's an absolute nightmare, isn't it? If you get that. Whereas if you've got things like astraenas that come in, or you've got things like vermitid snails, if you really examine them, and you can blow the astraenas off quite easily, the vermitid snails you've got to really look carefully to see if they're on there. So I think it's a real mix that I haven't actually dipped the last few corals that I've got. I think AAC, so it's not infallible, but they do have quite a really good regime. A lot of it's coming out of their farm and stuff like that. That doesn't mean there's it's impossible to get something from a trusted source. But if you get it from a trusted source, I think that you can relax, but you've got a bit more comfort.
I think you need to remember that dipping things isn't 100% guaranteed.
Absolutely.
I think for me, that's, it's the percentage is in your favour significantly, dipping over not dipping. But I mean, I was talking to Christian on Sunday, and he was telling me that at Signature, when I was with Jay, and he was saying that there's certain types of pests that are out there at the minute within the acro world that your normal traditional dipping, don't matter what you do, you're not going to get rid of it. If it's in your system, it's in your system. Yeah. But I mean, you've got people like, I'm sure it's Mike Pauletta, who's somebody he's had flatworms for years, and he's got the fish that deal with it, and it just keeps them at bay. Again, it depends on your system, but for most hobbyists, like us that are just going out on a Saturday to an LFS and buying a torch or a stick or whatever you want to call it and spending your pocket money or whatever, I think it's just good practice to do it, really. For the sake of how much dips are as well, they're not break the bank, do they, these days?
And they last, unless you buy loads and loads of corals,
yeah.
They last. I mean, a lot of it depends on how much water you actually use to acclimate, because obviously what you put in depends on the amount of water that you use. I use quite small tubs. I just find it's a lot easier to do, and you haven't got to take lots of salt water out your tank. I just find it easier. It's almost like a litre ice cream tub I use, a white one, and that's the kind of thing I use to acclimate and do it. So therefore, the dip you need hardly any at all when I do.
But if you've got a mature tank with, I don't know, let's just say hypothetically peppermint shrimps, you've got wrasses, you've got, I don't know, sapphire damsels, you've got fish that can, remove pests, then again, with dipping, you're just increasing your chances, aren't you? You're not guaranteeing them. I just think you're increasing your chances. It's a bit like when, ironically, a lot of people buy fish for algae control, as well as the fact they look nice and, whatever, like a tang or a foxface or whatever. But there's also fish out there that help, we know wrasses that help with pest control. So I just think, there's a lot that can be done by the hobbyist as well as dipping to increase your chances when you do dip, if that makes any sense, of what comes out after the dip, of maintaining it.
Yeah, I had a really bad outbreak of the red flatworm. It begins with a P. I can't remember the name of it. And they don't eat corals, but what they do, they get together and they create a net that actually just suffocates. And I had really bad outbreak of it. So I went and bought. That's when I actually bought the Springer damsels, because damsels are really good for that, and also some more wrasses as well, and that worked really, really well. And I think it was BRS TV. I was watching some of their videos where they had the big, I think it's the 170-gallon tank, and they had flatworm, so they put in your damsels and your wrasse and stuff like that. And then it never really bothered. That they might see the odd one, they might see the odd chunk out of the SPS, but it kept it at a level that didn't destroy the tank. And the problem, if you got that, if you then take an SPS out and you give it to someone else, and they say, someone says have you got flatworm? You said no, and you might not know you've got flatworm because you've got fish that are taking care of it. If that person hasn't got that kind of natural control, all of a sudden they're going to have an outbreak, and probably the first thing they'll notice is when they start seeing chunks out of their SPS and stuff like that.
But I've also read and watched videos and articles where people have got those fish doing those jobs, but because of their feeding regime, of which I'm an advocate of feeding a lot, they're not interested because that's a secondary diet. So if you're giving them a primary diet,
why hunt when you can just sit there and you can be fed?
Yeah, exactly. If you're sitting there getting fed fillet steak every night and you're happy with it, then why go out and why go scrounging looking for food? So I think you've got to get the right balance. I mean, these frags that I've had over the last couple of days, not the ones from Signature, but the ones I've got from Andy at Radical and Fit Filtration, etc. I've put them in the gravel bed after I've dipped them and cut them off, but the wrasse is just constantly flipping them over. And I just think we'll just let her do a thing, let her inspect them, and that's it. At the end of the day, that's what she's in the tank for. That's what she's in there for, The
only thing with wrasse, even if you feed them well, just by nature, they pick all day long, don't they? They're constantly picking at the rocks. All the wrasse that I've ever had, they're just constantly going around pick at things. And that's why if you put pods in and stuff like that, they're another ones that will try and outcompete your mandarins and stuff like that, because they'll go after all of that kind of stuff. And I found when I put wrasse in, and I did quite a few wrasse in the last tank here, I had hardly any copepods. because they were just stripped the tank. I mean, it's a 450, so not a bad size, but I must have had about 6 wrasse. I had 4 peacocks, silver belly, and a couple of others. So that's 4. I had about 7, which I don't know if that's a lot in a 450 or not. But when they're going around constantly picking, I was struggling to keep up the pod population. Right, I've got quite a few comments. Let's see what we've got here. We've got Gills Aquarium. Everything should be dipped 100%, no matter who or where it's from. The tanks aren't the ocean. We haven't got the predators. Absolutely. Yeah. I made a mistake, one of not dipping. I ended up with Monty eating nudies. An absolute bum cheek of a nightmare to eradicate. Absolutely. I don't dip, just temp acclimate, but only buy from places with better reefs than me. Signature frags mainly. Yeah, because Christian does put the stuff he brings in through different stages of quarantine, doesn't he? Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you've seen the systems. I've seen the system. He's really methodical with that. And it was interesting. There was a
He's got a reputation. He's got a reputation to protect, hasn't he?
Absolutely. And there was a post on Facebook the other day, and someone was saying about, I can't remember, it was an SPS they was after, and they were saying, signature frags, ripping you off the money, blah, blah, blah. And I went and had a look, and these SPS were between 59 quid and 80 quid. I didn't think that was too bad. No. So I went back to the guy and said, 59 to 80 quid, what do you think they were? He said 250. There was none on for 250, so I don't know how he thought it was 250. And then I was just trying to explain what he puts the corals through, and also what he's quite often got. You can't get very easily elsewhere. As I said, SPS are quite hard, and I think they're reasonably priced, higher end. But for what he puts them through and the quality he's got and the colour he brings out, if you're into SPS, I think they're good value. Is my personal view.
Not just that, but you increase any coral that goes through any dipping, you're increasing the stress factor to it. It's an animal at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think, if you want to, and the guy was then buying acros off of other hobbyists. Great. Another hobbyist should be cheaper than a shop. If you have to pay on a hobbyist the same price as a shop, then you can argue you're being ripped off, or it's so rare, or you so want that coral, you're prepared to pay a premium, and you just don't know what's happening in that tank, do you? No idea. But, I need to start dipping, but don't know which one to go for. I've used Coral RX before. Yeah. And I've used the Red Sea one before. I can't tell you which one's better because they dip and then you put it in. So I don't know which one's better. Coral RX I used for years, and I've gone back to that one only because
the Red Sea one. The Red Sea one's Dipex. Is it Dipex? Not is it Dipex? I'm sure it's something like that. I can't remember. I've used them both, but again through cost and when I brought boxes in, I've used potassium chloride. It's just cheaper in it. You don't have to. You can buy that online, and you don't have to worry about putting too much in if you want to have a go and do it yourself. And cheers to Liam for fetching me some yesterday, so I run out.
Yeah, I don't think I've got expiry dates. I've had mine for ages because I don't buy that many corals, to be fair. And as you say, a bottle lasts ages unless you've got loads of stuff to dip.
But definitely a baster, definitely a turkey baster pipette as well to blow stuff off. Because sometimes when you're dipping stuff, you can dislodge it, but you don't necessarily blow it off. Or you can, I suppose, in a way, sometimes you can not kill it, but I suppose anesthetize it. So if you don't remove it.
Yeah, I've used a toothbrush on things before. Where I can't remove the base, I've used a toothbrush. On chalices, on the underneath, I use a toothbrush because sometimes you can get stuff just underneath where you got the lip and it curls round. So I take the if you get a chalice, I like to have it not on a frag plug. So I use a toothbrush on that side. And I've also used a power head, but I point the power head away from it. So it's then wishing around the bucket. So I've used that as well.
I think another thing, when you're dipping corals again, I'd probably say again from experience, LPS or SPS, if you're going to dip it, then you need to acclimatize it as well. And I don't mean before it goes in. I mean when it's in. So in terms of light, flow, where you're positioning it, because you've just put it through a rigorous whatever process.
Stressed it
even more. So don't go, like I was saying earlier with the lights, don't go stick it under an LED because you think that's where you want it. That might be where you want it in 3, 4, 5 weeks. well, that's not where it wants to be right now. And it's just when it was on a plane 48, 72 hours ago, you've just covered it in whatever, chemical, and now you're sticking it under 500 power of lighting. It's not very happy, And if you have got fish that do certain jobs, put it on the sandbed, let it acclimatise, let it get used to the tank, and let those fish or whatever have a look at it and inspect it as daft as it sounds and see you haven't missed anything, because you never know.
I think certainly in terms of SPS, if you don't get enough light, they tend to brown out. If they get too much light, I find they tend to bleach.
Pale.
And I haven't got a massive amount of experience, certainly in the higher end ones, but that's what I've always done. So I picked up a couple of SPS from a guy I know, and it's been on the sandbed for about 3 weeks. It's still on there and it's fine, and the polyps are beginning to come out and everything else. I will move it. I just haven't got around to moving it higher up where I want it in the tank.
Well, it's like
it hasn't lost much colour either, to be fair.
A few years ago, somebody I know who's really experienced in SPS, he runs T5 still. And I was talking to him about how he replaces the T5s in terms of how often. And there is a method to what I'm explaining here. And what he did was, because obviously, so he used to say you don't change all the bulbs at the same time. You change them over a period, so you don't shock the corals because they're used to a certain spectrum. So he would change the bulbs, but he would then lower the light fitting over a period of time so that the corals could acclimatise it. The point I'm making is it's no different going from the top to the bottom than the bottom to the top in terms of bringing your coral from the sandbed up to where it originally wants, up to where it eventually wants to be. It's the same. It's the same whichever way around you talk about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that does make sense. Absolutely. Right. I'm just going to go for a few more comments. So they've just discovered aquapora eating nudies.
Yeah.
My 6-line 8 Monty eating nudies. Yeah, absolutely. 6-line are well known for having a munch on nudies and other stuff like that. Good dips use 247 here for beginners. Doesn't coral snow kill flatworms? I haven't heard of it killing flatworms. I have heard of it with vermitid snails because it blocks up. Yeah, so I haven't because it blocks up the tubes and kills them off.
Yeah.
I haven't got any experience of that, but people are saying that's what the coral snow does. But I think you have to do it for quite a period of time to do it. Yeah. Potassium chloride, tablespoon per litres of dip will dissolve acro flatworms before your eyes. Something to do with the osmotic shock, I believe. Yeah. Which is what you use. I dip everything I can. Yeah. Remove absolutely frag plugs. Really easy. And also before, I usually remove them before I start acclimatizing. So the first thing I do is take off the frag plug, then acclimatize them, and then dip them. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. That's a place where, well, not just any kind of pest, they'll go on. They don't. A lot of them don't go on the live flesh, do they? Quite often, no. There's a lot of pests that you get will live on the either dead flesh or the base. Lights off 18 hours and turn back on. Gets used to the tank, the water. I you know what? I haven't seen this so often. A few years ago, people were talking about using Dettol.
1 cap a litre I used to use on Zoas years ago.
Yeah, because I've never done it, and I heard about it quite a bit, but I haven't seen any posts about people using Dettol.
I'm sure it was 1 cap a litre. I used to do it on Zoas. Chris, a friend of mine,
really
big Zoa nut. He used to say, "Don't need to go out and buy these expensive dips. Just basically Dettol."
Yeah. Right, so we're going to end the poll, and it's 74% yes. So basically, what's that? 3/4 say yes, they do dip, and 1/4 say they don't dip. Which is probably not. I'm actually surprised it's not higher than 73%, to be fair. Right. Well, so if we go on to LPS in terms of corals and everything else, where do we want to start on LPS? Let's start. Torches. Have you had many? You obviously used to keep torches, didn't you?
I have. I've kept torches. Yeah. They were. Yeah. Torches have been one. I won't say Achilles heel, but they've been a difficult one for me over the years because the flow for me is definitely that question. Is there enough flow? When I went to Christian's again on Sunday, I was just like, Christ. I said to Jay, I went, look at the flow on those torches. It's unreal. If that was in, most people would see that and be like, whoa, that's way too much. But they were loving it. And then I've seen torches that just like a little bit of a gentle sort of bit of current. So I don't know. I'm not experienced on torches. I've kept them. I've had successes and I've had catastrophes. I've had issues where I've run too much current, so the flesh is rubbed against the skeleton, and I've lost heads. But then you could say maybe that's because they're not getting the right. You've not got the right levels in the water. I don't know. I'm not experienced on torches, so I can't really comment. Beautiful coral, but always been one that has had the better out of me, unfortunately.
The best that I've done with torches, and again, it's the tank in the garage and also the ones previously, but we're talking about quite bushy.
Yeah,
is where they've had flow from more than one side.
One direction, yeah.
So they get multiple directions. So they end up going from side to side. And I think they get the flow, so it goes through all the different polyps. So they'll get they get the flow and it takes all the detritus away.
Yeah.
And I find where you don't get enough flow, they don't extend. So what I find, if they're not extending enough, one of the things is the flow right?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. When I think of when I've had them before, the flow's been in one direction, so they've been one way or the other. But you look at I can't remember his name, Viking Reefing, who's got that massive one. He's back right hand corner from right his tank. That's insane, the extension on that. But that does exactly what you say. It gets flowing more than one direction. So I think there's definitely something in that with them. Yeah, definitely.
And also I found in the very same tank, so the one in the floating aquascape, I've struggled with torches anywhere else in that tank. I mean, it's quite a small footprint to be fair, and wherever I've put them, they don't get enough flow. They don't get flow from both sides because that one, because it's so large, is hogging the flow. It's in the perfect position because I've got flow from kind of one side at the back and then across. So it goes across like that and it's right there. So it's getting the flow from both sides of the tank as it's bouncing around. Yeah. And so I'm not actually putting any more in. I'm not putting any more torches in because I just can't get the flow right in that. Whereas I've got one in here and it's beginning to extend because at the moment it's getting flow from there. I think if I get flow from the other direction on this side of the tank, it'll get it from both sides. And I suspect then it will start waving a bit more and then the polyps and it will start to grow. I spoke to Christian about, because when I saw it, his torches were getting absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
And he was saying that actually that if you get the right level of flow, they start popping heads more, which actually as a what he wants is more and more heads growing as quick as possible, doesn't he? So he can propagate them. And I've seen that before, that actually if you can get the flow right, you can accelerate the growth. Obviously, there's other things that come into consideration as well, don't they?
Yeah.
I think also, and Jay will say this as well, decent level of magnesium, because they like magnesium quite a bit. Yeah. So I have to dose on the other tank extra amounts of magnesium. So all for reef goes in, it's fine. But I have to top it up with magnesium because the magnesium just goes. It doesn't keep a good balance. So I check every week and then I end up having to dose it. And because it's LPS, I can throw just 2 or 3 shots of magnesium in over a week, and I haven't got to dose it every day and stuff like that. Okay. The tank's fine. So I try and keep magnesium high, about 14, 50. But I find that it does drain it a bit because it's a big old torch.
You've got to be. They're not forgiving either when you're trying to put them in milliput other torches, same as frog spawns, hammers. If you get a frag and you've put some milliput in, which you've warmed it up with your hands and you've mixed it properly, etc., and you put it in a wherever you want to put it, you've got to be careful not to. The amount of times I've lost heads because I've crushed them with my mad hands trying to put them where I want them. Yeah. Just being honest, you've got to be careful with them because you think that skeleton's a lot more dense than it is, but it's not. It's a lot more brittle.
They can be quite fragile. What I tend to do is I put a frag onto a bit of aqua putty, and then I'll put it onto a disc. And then what I'll do, I'll leave it in a jug of water for about 20 minutes to let it set. And the putty's already gone off for about 45 minutes. Yeah. And then on the frag disc, I know it's ugly, but it's the only way I can really do it. I then put some more putty and some more glue and then put it on. And it's the only way I've got any chance of doing it. So as much as I hate the frag discs, I find it really difficult to put things like torches straight onto the aquascape. So sometimes I use a small one and I touch it that way. So it's a bit more of a ball's ache.
I'm putty and then super glue. I use the both. I'm a bit greedy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I use the DD Aquascape that you have to let set for 45 minutes usually, otherwise everything falls off. And then I use the Ecotech glue. I love the Ecotech glue because you keep it in the fridge and it lasts me at least 6 months. It's quite expensive, what, 20 quid or more than that now, 25 quid a go. It lasts me for months. Whereas I find with the Gorilla Glue and the little the little packs, they don't last very long. That's what I find on that.
That one.
Yeah, I don't use that. I don't know if do you keep it in the fridge?
No, I don't actually. No, there's not enough room because my fridge is full of beer normally. So yeah, but I try.
So yeah, I've kept the Ecotech stuff in the fridge. The first one I ever got, I didn't keep in the fridge and it went off. Keep it in the fridge, it doesn't gunk up. So I don't know if you could do that.
I have heard that, to be fair. I have heard that.
Yeah.
I tend to get more of it on my hands than anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. So no matter what you do,
going to bed, you just pick it. Just going to bed, you just pick your super glue off your fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's go through a few comments and then we'll come back to a little bit more on torches. Geezer advised me to use Dettol when I first got the hobby. Didn't notice any adverse effects on my coals, but the house smelled nice. Yeah. I'm not too sure you're supposed to use fragrance Dettol if you can get fragrance. I don't know.
No, in Drippy, it's probably using Zaflora.
Coals were cleaner than the house. Wasn't Tony by any chance? He loves a bit of Dettol. I've six torches. Nice one. I think torches more of a bacterial issue. I always KFC dip my torches and touch wood. I've not had any problem for over a year now. Yeah, you can get the brown jelly.
Yeah,
which I think is a bacterial. Yeah, touch wood. I never had that, but I think you get that. It's a peak to sort out as well because it spreads quite quickly, doesn't it, across your tank?
Yeah.
Drippy saying no, it was Luke. Where Tom get his apros the other week?
Oh yeah, he's on about when I bigged up Luke on the little shop in Lincolnshire when I went. Luke, that's what he's on about, I think.
Right, okay. Okay, right. Flow NG, Red Sea iodine. Mine loves it at 6. Okay, iodine as well. Yeah. Yeah, I must admit, I have to look on. I should do an ICP on that. Because trying to do an iodine.
Iodine's something that you used to, it was like brushing your teeth and running a reef tank. Iodine. You used to have to put like a drop in every day, didn't you? That was I did anyway. That's what I was taught to do. Dripping.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Every day or every other day. I can't remember now.
Yeah. What magnesium do I use? I use the Red Sea one. I've always used that. I've been dosing years the ABC, which is the alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium. I've always used it, and I find it's good. I use the powder because it's a lot cheaper than the liquid, but I use all for reef on one of the tanks. But the other tank, I use the Red Sea stuff. I just find it's pretty good. Having said that, I haven't used anything else, so I've not really got anything to compare with. What about yourself? What are you using in terms of magnesium, alkalinity, calcium? What brands have you used in the past?
Me? Myself?
Yeah, Tom.
Oh, lots. I used what did I buy? I always keep this. Hang on a minute. Here's what I made earlier. I always keep this in stock because for the money, it's quite good. The NIOS one for alkalinity.
Oh, okay.
I always use that one. I made some up the other day actually in a little bucket. But my calcium and my magnesium, because I'm doing water changes on a daily basis, bi-daily basis, the other parameters are fine. It's just the alkalinity started to dip a little bit. And obviously that's because I've started to put about 20 frags in now over the last 2 weeks. I'm keeping an eye on it. It's not dropping too much, but no, I use that. I've used loads of brands, Reef's Elements, Reef Flowers, Red Sea. I don't really think, I think if you want to get a better sort of value, pound for your, better for value for money, anything that you have to mix yourself, as daft as it sounds, tends to work out cheaper. It's
powder does. The powder on Red Sea
that's what that is.
So much cheaper than liquid. If you've got a nano, you're not going to use much, and the convenience, you can't beat it. But the powder, especially when you're doing the Red Sea and the alkalinity powder, I have to put it in a little bit at a time. If you put too much in, it starts to crystallize a little bit. If I used to make up big buckets of it because I used to dose like 200 milliliters a day. So I used to do a whole 10 liters. And so I'd put it all in a bucket and use the power head and get it up to the temperature.
I've used a couple of brands that have ended up having containing a little bit more of something than it should have as well. So I always try and go for something that's as pure as possible. And again, I've had stuff off APC Pure again, you know, Calquassa, and I got close to trying to make my own calcium at one point, but I decided not to. But yeah, run nitrate and phosphorus before with a little stirrer from Amazon was quite exciting. But yeah, it's I think for how much it costs to, you know, go and get it. I mean, what was this, $14.99, and I must have had this over a year. That's emergency. That's emergency backup, sort of in the cupboard. You know, my alkalinity is low. What am I going to, you know? I need to do something quick. So you can mix that with, you know, RO water in 5-10 minutes. Happy days. You know. And the good thing about this compared to others as well, I might add, is it actually gives you the right equation to work. Because you don't have to sit there with a, you know, calculator scratching your head all night trying to figure out what's the dosage for my tank. It literally tells you to a T what you should put in, which I think.
So you put X amount of spoonfuls per litre of water or something like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Got Paul in the house. How are you, Paul? Hope you're well. 15 years reefing now, on board because there's nothing new to do. I suppose that can happen. I suppose that's why I do lots of different things, like with you guys and the live streams, and we talk quite a bit and things like that, because that helps mix things up. The fact they've got loads of different tanks as well. I mean, I've only been doing it for 10 years this year, so you know, I'm not a veteran or been doing it for donkey's years.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters how long you've been doing it. I think the only thing with doing it longer than somebody else is you've probably had more ups and downs than somebody else. I mean, I've met people the last month or so that know just as much, in some cases more than me, and have been doing it a fraction of the time I have, because they've just chosen to go out and research. Fair play to them, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, what else have we got here? I bet the glue sticks your fingers to your beer cans. A bad thing? I suppose it is when the can's empty.
Oh, Johnny knows me too well. On that note, happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. I'm on the hard stuff water.
Oh yeah, it's vodka, really, Paul. I know it is.
A pint of vodka, I'd be all over it. I'd be like Jay when he's not well.
He's hot toddies.
Yeah, absolutely. He just disintegrates as the 2 hours goes. But there we go. I went for a bit of a low, and ignored the tank for months. Didn't even feel the doser. Took a bit of a hit, but it's on the mend. Yeah, that does happen. I mean, it is, to be on it. I mean, as your tank gets older, you don't have to necessarily be on it every day, but you do need to be on it. I think most tanks every week at least.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week, weren't we, about dosing? And I think you've got to, and again, that goes back to my regime with the zeolites on this, because I've got to be militant, and every day, it is only 3 bottles. It's not crazy as some people think it is, but it makes me do it every day. And I just think, you know, you can go automated, and I've had the toys, the tricks, the gadgets, and they're great for recording data, but they're not great for maintaining accuracy, and that's why you have to calibrate. And then if you're calibrating, you almost beg the question, well, why have I bought it in the first place? May as well just manual test. So it's I just think you just got to find, as I always say, find a way that that matches your,
works for you,
that works for you, your lifestyle, your time, your schedule at work, whatever. But yeah, I think you're daft if you don't test and just keep on top of things. So
absolutely.
And I'm no angel. I've made some stupid mistakes, listening to pH probes and alkalinity, and it's gone tits up.
I'm now back in the routine. I have been for a little while of testing every Sunday. So every Sunday morning I test all 3 tanks. And it's a pain to do 3. And it's now in a routine that get up, do a couple of bits, breakfast, bang. And then 8:30 in the morning, I'm pretty much then doing the testing. And it takes me over an hour because you've got 3 tanks to do. I know if I don't do it then, before everyone in the house gets up,
you're never
it ain't going to happen.
No,
so that's probably the best time of the week when actually I can do it without having interruptions, and I know it's going to get done.
Anybody said the majority of people who've ever had a problem with a reef tank, me included, if they were honest to themselves and answered the question, when did it all start going wrong? It's when they took their eye off the ball. 100%. It's when you turn around on a Saturday afternoon and go, oh, I can't be after doing water change and changing my row of fat or clean my skimmer out, test my water because I'm going to go to the pub or going to go out, whatever. And then the week after you don't do it, and then that's when all of a sudden you're playing catch up. It's like ICPs. Yeah. I was talking to a couple of people in group chat the other day. You know, ICPs. Let's go out and everybody test the water. The majority of people test the water. The majority, will test the water when they've got a problem. We'll test your water more regularly, and you'll prevent having a problem. And I've been there. You know,
you can tweak it, can't you?
You can tweak it, and you can stop something. You can prevent something from happening. Not guarantee, but by doing certain things, you can prevent a problem, or you can postpone it, should I say, in some cases, then accelerate it by not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, you can stop it because if things are going south or north, depending if what direction you don't want it to go in, if you don't, it'll just go unchecked, won't it? So I
just think with ICPs again, because of the price, what are they, £30, £35? But I think again, a lot of the people, if you go back to what we're talking about with dipping and corals and going out on a Saturday when you've been paid and buying that coral, you put a deposit on or whatever it is, that's X amount of pounds.
Yeah,
putting your tank along with everything else that you've spent that can be hundreds and thousands of pounds to do an ICP only when you've got a problem and somebody says to you, well, perhaps you should do an ICP because I don't know why that died, or I don't know why that's gone that colour, or I don't know why that's stripped or whatever. Do an ICP before that conversation has to take place is all I'm saying. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to do with this, and again, it depends on budget. I get that. But I think rule of thumb is every quarter, at least every 3 months. Because if there's lots of tests that you're testing in terms of your normal parameters, there'll be lots of tests that you can't test for. So it's a bit of a guessing game, especially if you're not doing water changes.
Right. So I'm going to do a poll. Have you used ICP in last 3 months? Interesting.
Because I've been there. I've sent an ICP off when I've had a problem. And I just think, when you think about it, really, it's better to, it's like taking a car for its MOT, isn't it? Or a service. And somebody points out and goes, well, this is all right, but you might want to change your tyres, or you might want to do this, or you might want to do the other. It's not life and death, but if you keep ignoring that advice, you're going to end up with a flat tyre, or you're going to end up having to go and,
end up with a problem and spend
loads
loads of money.
Is what I'm saying. And spend loads of money.
No, absolutely. No, I agree. Right, so the poll's in there. So let's see some other comments. Drippy, I'm not putting yours up there.
What's it for? What's it for?
I tell you what, right? Every week,
oh dear,
I look at it and I get demonetized on the live streams for saying corona.
Is it being vulgar?
No, and I'm not going to read it out because I don't think the algorithm reads without me saying anything.
Wow.
Right, that's off the screen. Okay, I have about 50 billion. Nice. Well, we Calcrosser. I want to go back to LPS in a minute, but I've traveled the world, gone on most coral reefs. I'd love to go to the coral reefs. I can't go scuba diving. I would never be able to because I'm diabetic. You're not supposed to go scuba diving, but I could go snorkeling, I suppose. Very modest. Right. Okay. Pretty much there.
Just put a wetsuit on, Paul, and go to the deep.
I could learn to hold my breath.
Sit and watch the rays go by.
Fair point. Right. So coming back to LPS, Goniopora. So that's another one where I think years ago people couldn't keep Goniopora, and now they're really, really popular. I wouldn't say as popular as torches, but they're definitely, I would say the last 12 months, maybe 18 months, they're in vogue on there. More and more people are getting them. They're lasting a lot longer. They used to turn into a golf ball really, really quickly. And people say, what the hell? I've started getting more and more of them. I think they're really, really nice. I like Alveopora, actually.
We just took the words out of my mouth.
Really, really nice. And they're really easy. And I'm going to put an Alveopora in this tank. I've got 2 in the other tank that I want to move over, but I'm not going to. And the Alveopora, you don't get as many different colours, like your rainbows and stuff like that. But you do get mostly green, But you do get some other colours as well. So I started off an Alveopora before I went to Goniopora just to see how I get on. And I think with Goniopora, they like it. I mean, Jay hammers the flow on his Goniopora.
Yeah.
And they're really, really well. I've started doing more flow on mine and they do well. I know he's told it, manganese definitely helps, and a higher magnesium as well. And I learned about the manganese from Laura at Eco Marines when she was at Love to Reef 2 years ago, and she did a bit of I think it was a Q&A session, and people were asking because she's got a coral farm, has absolutely fantastic corals, and Goniopora she sells to AAC and other places like that. So Paul gets a lot of his Goniopora from her because she's a wholesaler, and anytime she sells retail is when she goes to a show. When the last Reef she was at, and she said manganese, and the problem is it's hard to measure it because ICPs don't always capture it. But what she also said is it's very difficult to overdose because if you don't dose too much, it participates. Is it participation? Whatever the word is, it does that. So you're not going to damage it. So I every week dose about 3 mil to 4 mil in the tanks, depending on the size of the tank. And also on the ICP, it actually came up as a manganese actually was positive. It wasn't 0, which was good. So I think with that decent flow, again, if it's not moving around, I would say there's not enough flow in it.
Well, that's looking at your corals as well, isn't it? Like a lot of people say,
yes.
Look at your corals. What's your tank telling you? Is it happy? Is it not?
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. So I think that's some things that I think I've had advice on that helps with manganese. Those two things, higher magnesium and also manganese. I mean, obviously you need a stable tank and all that kind of stuff, but those things make a difference. I think Steve's always struggled with Goniopora, and I do wonder whether it's down to manganese, but also where he keeps them in quite low flow. I think in the past, but I think he's given up on those. It's like that. You kind of get in your head. You got a nemesis coral.
You've just well, mine's wall hammers from years ago. Wall hammers, because you just lose a little bit, and I've just had so many issues where you end up losing a lot so quickly. And then the cleanup crew come in because they smell an easy meal, and then they make it even worse. So there's no chance to recover it.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why I think branching are far more popular, because one, they're more common because you can obviously frag them.
Cut it off. Frag it off.
I've never got a wall hammer or anything that's kind of like that, because as you say, you lose part of it. There's nothing you can do. You can't, like with most corals, you can frag most corals, can't you? Scollies and things like that. I know you could frag those, but that's a really squeaky bum.
I've seen wall hammers fragged quite aggressively, to be fair. They made it. It's just a bit of bad luck for me I've had over the years with wall hammers, but like you say, everybody's got the nemesis coral. That's mine, wall hammers. I don't do LPS anymore, thank God.
Right, let's go through a few more comments. I watched an interview of David Saxby. He used to use a calcium reactor, and now stopped using, and also stopped water changes, and now does an ICP test every week. Fair enough. I've got to say, the water changes he would do in that tank, I can't remember how many litres the tank that big old tank is, but that's a task in itself, doing a water change on that. I can understand why he doesn't do that. I mean, calcium reactors definitely gone out of fashion. I don't see hardly anyone running a calcium. One, because people got smaller tanks. You don't need them on a small tank. I think people are using more calcwasser. And also, if you're trying to keep those two letters high, your pH, calcium reactor doesn't help, does it?
No.
Let's have a look, see what else we've got. I try ICP every month for the reason if there's something wrong. Don't know if there's a problem, we can sort it out. And also got record, but I mean, I bought the Red Sea test kit that had iodine, potassium. I think it had about 3 or 4. Oh my God, what an ache it was! You have to pour water through little water filter paper.
I've used
2 or 3 times.
And you get the discs, the coloured discs that you move around. I've done that one. It
took absolute. I mean, I hate magnesium. On the Red Sea magnesium, you have to drip 5 drops, 15-second intervals, and that one I find a real ache to do, and that's probably as far as I would go in terms of
So it was a ball ache, so you didn't. So it was a ball ache, so you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I've got the box
Basically.
in the cupboard. I used it 2 or 3 times. I was just like, this is a ball ache. Stop doing it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If things are too difficult to do, you're just not going to do it, are you?
No.
So yeah, I mean, with an ICP, it's so easy to do. I mean, I think I've said before, the Reef's Elements one, I sent it on a Monday, sent it by special delivery, to be fair, because I didn't want it to get lost in the post. Got there the next day, as you expect. I had an email at 10:30 on the Tuesday night with the results. That's the quickest. I've done Triton before. I always send it by special delivery next day. If I'm spending 30 quid, I think it's 4 quid to send it special delivery. If I'm spending 30, 4 quid is not going to make any difference. And it's probably the quickest I've ever had an ICP. And Triton, the quickest I ever had, send it on the Monday, get it on the Wednesday evening. So that I was really impressed with that one, to be fair.
Yeah, so, I just think I know it's £30, and some people might go, "Oh, a bit expensive." But when you really compare it to what you've spent in your tank, or you're prepared to put in your tank, I just really think it's just a no-brainer for me. Yeah.
There you go. Precipitates. Thank you very much. I didn't have my teeth in. Right, let's end the poll. So we've got 65% is no, haven't done an ICP in the last 3 months, and 34%, which that means it doesn't add up to 100. So we round up to 35. So 2/3 no, third is a yes.
Right. Interesting.
Doesn't surprise me. Right. So what's Hadi saying? The only thing that looks really the hit was SPS. Cut them all back because I thought I'd lost them, but they are growing tissue again. Fair play. ICP every month. Want to dial in my trace elements.
Yeah. That's another reason. Definitely.
I do the eye test. Yeah. Yes, your trace elements. Yeah. Yeah. People do that. May never done that. It's fair enough. Don't know. Many people had luck with ball hammers. I suppose if you look at it, you have a torch coral branching one. You lose one head, you frag that off, or you frag it down, and it survives and it grows out again. The problem with ball hammers, that's it.
When I first, and again, this isn't who's been in the longest debate, but when I first started, however many years ago, they were that was from an LPS point of view, they were what was available to buy from your LFS. There wasn't really much branching stuff, because what was happening was people were gobbling up the branching cat type because you could frag them and you could make more money from fragging them. Yeah, that's exactly why they were hard to get hold of. So the wall hammers tended to be the ones that you ended up, as a hobbyist, you ended up getting left with at the LFS to buy on a Saturday afternoon or whatever, along with your Alveoporas before all your amaze balls and glitter balls and whatever balls come out. Next week.
there's more balls than you can mention.
I'm sure there's more balls in the Goniopora world than but they are. To be fair, again, when I saw them at Christie's, they were really nice. I can remember they used to do little coral gardens with like GSP and a toadstool on it and a few zoas. That was the mushrooms and that was the in thing. And now it's Gonoporia gardens at X hundreds of pounds or whatever. But it's just a fashion, just does a circle. In a year's time it'll be something else, and hey-oh, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, I find with Warhammers, they link stability. They like stability more than other LPS as an Aussie, and same as Aussie Torch. Any salinity swing can set them off. So yeah, more sensitive. Yeah, people do say that the Aussie Torches are a little bit more finicky than the Indo ones. Never kept the Aussie ones before, but I have seen that. Well, they're harder to keep, and they can bail quicker. Sent an ICP last Monday at lunchtime. Results Tuesday just before 3 p.m. Rock on Reef.
That's awesome. That's really good.
That is really good.
That is really, yeah. Because you often wonder, don't you, if you're sending it wherever and it takes 3 or 4 days, you often come on. We've all thought it. Well, is my water is it gonna be accurate? Are things going to have changed? Not necessarily changed in terms of level of elements, but you always wonder, has it got a negative effect the longer it's been in in circulation or whatever.
Yeah, and before Christmas, I did use Reef's Elements, and the machine broke down. fair play. They did the test and also sent me a free test.
Free ICP.
And and I can moan all about it, but the reality is things break. And also, when something goes wrong, I always judge a company. What happens when something goes wrong? How do they put it right? Now, I didn't ask them to send me a free kit or anything like that. I was a bit disappointed, thinking, well, I really needed that. But then they said, no, we'll send you a test. And then in the post after Christmas, got a free one through the post. Can't knock that at all. I mean, obviously, that's not a 30 quid cost to them, but it's still inconvenient sending it out in the post, blah, blah, blah. They've still got to do the test. So for me, when something goes wrong, how does that company turn it around? And to me, that was bang on. And I didn't jump up and down. So it wasn't as if I was jumping up and down. They were going to shut me up. They just said, right, this is what's happened, blah, blah, blah. Paul, we'll send this out. Can I take your address? That was fantastic.
Then you're going to stick with them, aren't you?
Ah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Used to love them Coral Garden back in the day, Tom.
It knows what I mean. They were so colourful, though. That's what drew you in. You got in all these corals, and you never even thought about them growing out and competing with each other and stinging each other and whatever. But that was the craze. They were about I don't know. They were about like a sort of a small sort of plate, sort of, I don't know, about 10-inch, something like that diameter. But they were awesome. They were the thing back in the day. Buy one of those for about you get one for about 100 quid, and it had like literally Zoas on it, GSP, got a cat like a Kenya tree, toadstool, mushrooms on it, and it was great. You could put so much coral and colour in one go in a safe, easy to keep corals, and now it's all about putting the expensive, the labelled stuff on that people are going to spend silly money on. And it's just a shame because the people that can afford those is the minority, not the majority. So then people don't get them. So it's just a bit of a shame. They were a really good thing back when I first started. Really good thing.
But I mean, there are some fantastic corals out there.
Yeah, underrated as well, corals out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think things like candy canes, when they start growing out into a kind of bouquet, they're absolutely fantastic.
It's supply and demand, isn't it? It's what people want.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, supply and demand. What people want, it's going to drive the price up. This is in anything, whether it's marine or whatever business.
And I think torches was the one that I've seen when there was an explosion of them on Instagram, and then there was an explosion in price. And of course, then COVID hit, so people had more money, which then drove the price up even more.
But they also allowed the acro world to come into the LPS world and start giving it silly names. Let's be honest.
Well, that's true.
Because again, when I first started, it was a green torch. It didn't have a name. And I'm not saying a green torch and a gold torch or a 24-carat torch. Of course, they look different, and one's nicer predominantly than the other. But as soon as it's got a name on it, same with acros. I bought acros before for £10-20 that are brown, and I've coloured them up, and they look sometimes better than ones I've paid £80 for a frag.
Yeah.
But like somebody once said to me, something is only worth what something is only worth what somebody's prepared to pay for it. That's it. And
you can hype it up, and more people will buy it. I mean, I've seen Walt Disney's and stuff like that, and I think they're okay, but then I'm not a great SPS lover, to be fair. So it's probably wasted on me. But I look at it and think, yeah, that's all right. I'd rather have something like a tricolour acro that are easy.
Well, I'd rather grow a turbinara than a Montepora calf, but you just can't find them these days. And turbinara is such a lovely, scrolling coral.
I tell you where you can get a turbinara. AAC.
Right,
Paul's got them out the back because he keeps pieces out the back. Because they won't sell. So what he's done, he's almost like a kind of got a museum of corals, should we say? So ones that were back in the day,
like a relic.
It is an old relic. But if you have a look, he's got ones out there, and he talks lovingly about these corals that he's had for years and years that were back in the day. They were kind of not cutting edge, but you know what I mean. But he knows he can put them out. He'll never sell them. So he's got colonies of these that are around the back of these tanks, around the back of these tanks, not in the prime locations. They don't need all the light and everything else. And he's definitely got those, because I remember having a tour of the coral farm, and he's showing me all these ones, and I'm thinking, yeah, they look okay. And of course, when you go back 15, 20 years, they were prime cuts, shall we say, of corals. So if you want a piece of that, I'm sure you would drag a piece for you. When we sort something out, if you come down in May, I speak to him, or you speak to him, whatever,
definitely,
and see if he can frag a piece for you. And he's probably got other pieces that you'd have because you got a nostalgia value to them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that was what I was saying to Christian. Sorry, quickly on Sunday was there's a lot of. He was agreeing with me that I've been a lot of the majority of the fags I bought were under white light, not blue light, because again, I run my tank mainly on white spectrum, because that's what I want to look at during the day. So I want to appreciate the coral in daylight, not just when I'm sat in orange, orange glasses for an hour a day or whatever. And there's some corals out there that some classics, like you say, like turbinaras and some stags and some other corals like gomezes, and that are you just don't see them these days because they're not the fad, they're not the fashion, as I said earlier. But each
so they can end up, because if people are not buying them and then people close their tanks down, and they can't get rid of them, they will die out because they're protected and not go around the hobby, do they? So that's the thing on that side. So and to be fair, all those torches, I remember when I started and I had torches and they all looked green, it was under white light. So it's only with the blue lights and everything else you put the kind of the other colours under white light, they just look brown and green. So it's the blue light that's made them pop and bring out those colours. So all those corals, probably those torches existed before, because they was under one light. You'd never really get those colours to pop, would you?
No, I don't want to digress too much. I just think money spoiled this hobby a little bit in the last few years I've been in it, because again, when I cast my mind back to when I first started with SBS, and it wasn't that long ago, probably 5-6 years ago, that a guy used to buy a few bits off locally on eBay. I'd go and buy the frags that I already paid for, but he'd also give me 3 or 4 to try for free, and it just kept me hooked. It kept me in it. Whereas now it's like, well, I want 5 quid for this, I want 10 quid for this, I want 20 quid for this. And it's like, well, all right, if you've paid a silly amount, you want to recuperate what you've invested into your coral or your tank. I get that. But I just think sometimes, let's just remember it's a hobby, not a business. I know that's difficult to sort of contain, to sort of understand to an extent, but I just think there's got to be a balance. You want to cover your cost of your tank, but let's keep the hobby alive.
It's definitely crept in over the years in terms of people charging more and more, and maybe that's because tanks cost so much to run, so you want to cycle. I've still got a number of people locally that I know, and to be fair, I've known them for a while, that we still swap corals, and I might give them a coral that I know is worth 50, 60 quid. They give me a coral that may be worth 100 quid, or they might be worth 10 or 15. I don't care.
Well, I can remember with SPS calls, you get something that were a bit like, wow, before the indoor stuff, you just like, oh, wow, I've not seen this before. And you'd be like, right, I'm chopping it in half, you're having half, and I'll keep the half. And if my half dies or my frag dies, then you're giving me a bit of that back.
Yeah,
back
done that.
For free, And that for me is what keeps it alive. Not, well, I want 20 quid off you or 30 quid off you or 50 quid off you.
Absolutely. I think if you've got decent reefing friends, you would call them, or people you mix with on that side, you do end up giving one another corals, and don't worry about it. When I came up to see Steve, I was going to the football, bought up the Raja Rampage, you had that for nothing, and that's when they was expensive. I didn't care about it. It was Steve, I know him well, we help one another out, bloody blah blah, and most of you guys could have frags free from me, no problem, or really, really cheap. And that's what I think you do with other people in the hobby. And that's, to me, what the hobby's about, or part of it.
Plus, it drives the price down as well. It makes things more affordable. Because if more people can maintain and sustain those corals, they're in the local area, or they're in the UK or whatever. We don't lose that strain, and people can get access to them. So isn't that a good thing when we have things like bans and we can't get certain corals? If they're in the community and it's just an email or a message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, just to and maybe pay for somebody's fuel or postage or whatever, then for me that's how it should be.
Absolutely. Right, let's see what comments we've got on here. So we've got here, Tidal Gardens use estuary as starfish for cleanup crew. My harlequin shrimp loves them. Unfortunately, harlequin shrimp, I think they're evil the way they chop up the starfish, but they're beautiful and majestic.
They're beautiful.
The problem is, I think it's hard to find something that's as beautiful as a harlequin shrimp. If you see them and you watch them and the way they just glide around, unfortunately, that's the only thing they eat. And hence why you don't see many of them around. But I mean, just look at their patterns and everything else. I think they're absolutely stunning creatures. I really do. Of shrimps.
But again, with harlequins, I can remember when I used to be able to like borrow them off people and give them back.
Yeah. So every so often on the local Facebook group, someone will say, "I've got a harlequin shrimp. Does anyone want it?" Because I'm concerned that I'm running out of shrimps, blah blah blah. Yeah. Or has anyone got the starfish that they can pot up for me and I'll come and pick them up? So you do see that going on. But absolutely, I think they're majestic. Right, let's have a look. Buy a ticket to the deep, which is saying return visits are free for a year. Love the penguins at the deep. It's 25 minutes from us.
I could just just picture you in your wetsuit, your flippers on, sat on a bench with your lunchbox and your Kit Kat, your flask of tea or whatever, just watching. I don't know why. Don't worry, I don't follow you around. I live 200 miles away.
I know you do. I'm going to look over my shoulder this weekend. But I don't go out in my swimsuit. The dry suit. I mean flippers. I mean snorkel. Go along the high street saying, "I'm doing this because I can't go scuba diving. I'm not allowed."
Hey dear.
Right. Okay. Let's move on. Right, I'll go through these comments and then I think, unless anyone's got any questions about LPS, we'll move on to FPS because we've been dragging corals out for quite a while. Right. Okay. I agree. Greeders caused hobby to flop. There used to be a few shops near me, all gone, just one shop left. They mainly do freshwater. Yeah, put a name on it. Absolutely. Yeah. Tom, bet you remember the small football size gonies for 50 quid.
I do. I had a red one that was about that big that was about 80 quid back in the day. About 200 quid now, probably more. I don't know.
Eddie's saying can't keep candy canes. Yeah, I find I can put candy canes anywhere and they're okay. They do like dirty water. Dirty water's good. I find I've grown them on the sandbed and also quite high up. Although I usually start them off low down and then move them back up so you don't burn them with the lights. And almost the nutrients, they're better in kind of nutrients that almost suit softies, I find. The dirtier the water, they puff up, you find around the edges. I don't know what your tank's like. And flow-wise, they just need enough flow to take the detritus off of them. Although you can whack them with loads of flow, okay. They won't be as puffy, I find. I think I love Euphilia. Sticks are a good filler coal, but all for the Euphilia. Yeah. Some crazy prices out there. What else have we got? Reefer's code.
Yeah, totally. That's what it should be. We need to get it back. We need to get it back to that. We do because it just encourages people to try different things and in the hobby. You know, it's like again, I want to get on my soapbox, but if I've watched people, I've done it myself, go and buy an SPS colony that have never really kept SPS before, 90, 100, whatever pounds. You know, if it goes wrong, you've lost a lot of money. Somebody gives you buy a frag and somebody says, "Well, you bought a frag for £20, £30. Try this as well." Then that's the sort of thing. It's more of an encouragement, I think, for me, and that's finding that balance again for LFSs to, you know, again, I'm not going to keep plugging certain shots. I was talking to Andy about it, Radical, the other day that it's that community spirit that for me, you know, sound a bit mushy here, but seems to be gone with certain businesses. And for me, it's that aspect that draws people into the hobby and shares ideas. You know, in the end of the day, I was talking to somebody that I've never met before, and he was showing me his tank, and we both shared best practice, and we both learned a bit off each other. We probably would have never met each other before had we been in that shop.
Absolutely. I think social media is really good because you can research a lot quicker. You've got your fingertips on things, but it has taken the human side away where you've got to know people. Therefore, because you get to know people, you're more likely to then swap calls, and you're more likely to say, "Well, I don't want 50 quid for that." And because you've got that connection with someone, you just say, "Well, you have that call and I'll have that call." But I think you've got less connections So therefore, you've got less relationships. Therefore, you're less likely to do that. So I think it's more of a sterile environment. That's the downside of it.
Yeah. But like that last comment about mates, it's, you know, you get that, you make those friends, ironically, majority of the time from LFSs, or you used to, and it can you know, forge some great relationships, short and long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, absolutely. If you lose some corals,
yeah, exactly. That point entirely. You know, that's exactly how it used to be. That's how it should be.
Right. Okay. So we're going to SPS. Now, the question is, are you looking forward to the Fiji corals coming back again? I've got to say, I never missed them, John. So I must admit, I wouldn't know a Fiji coral if it hit me on the head, because but I'm going to come to you on this, Tom, because I don't know what they do in Fiji compared to elsewhere. And I mean, how long is it since we haven't had Fiji coral? Is it 18 months? Maybe longer, I'm guessing. So in which case, then you kind of out of sight, out of mind? I don't know, is the answer, John, on that, about will we see some corals that we haven't been able to get in the last 2 or 3 years? If the answer is yes, and you go, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, there will be. There will be.
Yeah.
There will be, because from an importer's point of view, you know, going back to the business side, not to contradict what I'm saying about the hobbyist side, but you're gonna need to feed the audience with something that they haven't necessarily had before. So you're gonna need to spice it up a little bit. So I do think we are going to see things that are different color combinations, perhaps on different species that we haven't had for a very long time. So I think it's exciting times. I'm looking forward to it, definitely.
I'm not really big on SPS, so for me, I just shrug my shoulders.
Well, the indoor stuff came along and was more of a, let's try and put it down on it, so some cracking pieces. But historically, for me, and again, I'm not sat here tonight saying I'm an expert on SPS, but from my personal experience, when I first got into SPS, it was majority of it was the Aussie stuff, and they were big pieces, they were really expensive, you know, your shortcakes and stuff like that. And then when the indoor stuff came in, it was more affordable. It was like sort of like Aldi price. It was like, you know, £60 a colony, not £200 a colony. You know, just to put it in context, that was what it was.
Yeah.
Or sort of mini colony. So you were more, and again, going back to what I said earlier about frags and the beer sort of cheaper and more to encourage and lure people into it. With the indoor stuff coming in, it got me into SPS, because if I'd have gone out and bought a piece of Aussie stuff and it had died at £150, £200, I would probably have stayed with LPS. If that makes sense. The indoor stuff got me into SPS more than ever because it was affordable, and for the color combinations and the species that you could get, it was affordable. But that's personal. I can't talk for everybody.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what it'll do to prices, because in theory, I say this is in theory, Fiji need to get back in the market.
Yeah,
they need to shift coral, because the corals have still been growing. So they've probably got an abundance of coral that the coral farms they set up, and obviously then it closed it down. So they've got tons of corals they need to shift. So could you see an influx?
Have they not been shifting them to other countries though?
No,
is there an argument to say they've not been going anywhere else?
I thought the ban was they couldn't export from Fiji. I don't think the ban was not into the UK. I didn't think they could export. It wasn't a ban on importing, it was a ban on exporting, which means they couldn't ship. I mean, someone will probably correct me, yay or nay. So it was a complete ban, complete CITES ban. Okay. So that basically means they've probably got
an abundance
tons and tons. So in theory, you know, do they manage it whereby they release it slowly to keep prices up?
Yeah.
Do they release quite a lot, which then puts a glut of corals on the market, which sends, you know, I don't think this will happen, because in theory, supply and demand.
Yeah, could bring price down.
You contact all the people, you can say, right, you want a box of blah, blah, blah. That's the price. And therefore they undercut Indo. Yeah. I don't know, because on a supply and demand basis, if you've got another big supplier and they need to shift corals, in theory, and that's why I say in theory, because people say it's a pipe dream, it's never going to go down. And it might not, but you know where I'm coming from, no?
No, definitely. Either way, it's adding more to the menu, isn't it? Which, from a hobbyist point of view, it's exciting times.
Yeah, right. We've just got a few comments on this, so just go back up to the top. I'm ignoring It's
Drippy.
Riggsy as well. He's doing no, it's not drippy. It's spreading. Stop it. Right.
What was the emoji there? He's a hazelnut. What did he put there? I didn't see it. What's that?
I don't know what it is.
I bet you've got. But do you still have those? Can you remember those? What were those little things you used to have with the chocolate? You used to have little cartons with the little biscuit sticks, and you used to have chocolate in it. Can you remember them? I don't know why that's just reminded me of them.
No.
Never remember them?
Well, it was biscuits.
Like
biscuits. And you had
like a yogurt pot. And you
like
peeled
Nutella kind of thing.
And it had like chocolate. I'm really showing my age here. You had chocolate at the top, and you had loads of like little biscuit sticks. You used to dip them in.
Wasn't it Nutella
when you were a kid? It was a cheap version of Nutella. But anyway, we digress.
But it's on that kind of theme.
I'm on that kind of theme. Sorry. Somebody's going to comment. Somebody will remember.
Yeah, someone will remember it. Choc dip. Someone said. I haven't got to the comment.
That's
Choc dip. There we go. Well done, Chris.
Well done, Chris.
Right.
We see now.
So Haley's saying it's sterile around here. All reefers have got rid of their tanks. Nobody to swap anymore. That's
a shame.
And then John's saying about Aqua H. Reason why it's been postponed to September is the exhibitors wanting to delay it until September. Fiji is more fish, if I remember right. It's more Indo and Aussie. The main stock comes from. Love the Fiji bicolour box face. Fiji yellow leather corals will be back. Do you know what? I saw some pictures of who had them. I think Tidal Gardens had yellow leather corals. And I'm sure I've seen some pictures from the UK as well. I didn't even realise yellow leather corals was a thing. So you don't get many yellow corals, do you, to be fair? So that'd be good if you get some of those. What else have we got? Fiji got banned in 2018. Complete CITES ban. Hoping to see a pair of crosshatch triggers soon when the final starts sending fish again.
Nice.
Ooh, nice. Some nice pastel, unusual shapes. Looking forward to it.
Alex, evening. That's Alex from the MyLFS, by the way. Who was kindly enough to donated my my tabling frag that I showed you in the group chat. That's doubled in the last 2 weeks. Nice
one. Well done, Alex.
That's it.
They also do a lot of farmed. So that's what I'm thinking about, the farmed ones, because I remember seeing pictures when they were putting all the farms together and everything else, and they just would have, I'm assuming, they just would have been left to grow out.
Yeah.
There we go. Choc dip.
Choc dip. Definitely choc dip. Well, it must be.
You can still get a choc dip, Tom.
They also did a white chocolate one, which was even better. But anyway.
I was thinking Milky Bars of white chocolate and the adverts. You don't see those adverts anymore, do you?
No,
Milky Bars are on me. That's showing your age.
No,
I have anyway.
No.
But there you go.
So the back of the bus with a Spira, if you remember a Spira, they were chocolate. Spira.
Yeah. And the wagon wheels as well. I tell you what, one thing change the subject completely, right? Recently, bag of crisps, open a bag.
I know where you're going here.
Not even half, not even a third. It's about a quarter full.
Yeah.
Jill opened a bag the other day and I looked at it and I went, I can't believe this. It was outrageous.
On a Saturday, I used to meet my friends in the Meadowhall local shopping centre near us in Sheffield. Get on the bus for about, whatever it was, 8p. Go to the cinema, have a McDonald's and get home on like £5.
Absolutely.
Probably cost you that on the bus these days.
Oh, here we go. Got sherbet dips, curly whirlies. Curly whirlies are really small now.
Oh yeah.
Wagon wheels are not the size of wagon wheels. They're I don't know.
I'm used to wagon wheel.
They're more the size of a trike.
Oreo.
More like trike wheels, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So small. Right. Okay. Does anyone SPS grow quicker than their LPS? And softies like mine do. Right, good. We're back on the straight and narrow. Thank you, John.
Sorry,
we're talking about SPS. No, that's fine. Yeah. Put your wagon wheels and your choc dips to one side. Let's focus on the title. It's only taken an hour and a half to talk about SPS. Oh dear. Right, SPS all the way now. Right. I don't know. Grow quicker.
Well, yeah, I've always thought SPS will grow quicker because they just do. They tend to calcify and just grow quicker. And yeah, I've always had. I think that's why I've always ended up from a frag point of view with SPS, because from a turn it into a frag, you can it tends to grow quicker than you're waiting for a head to appear on a hammer or a frog spawn or a torch, for example. So yeah, from experience, I've definitely had SPS grow a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got this is coming. Depends on your pH level. pH for the win.
Oh, reef at my own heart.
Right. So where do you want to start on SPS? Do you want to talk about different types? Because, you know, a Monty you treat, I think, quite differently to maybe an acro.
Yeah. I mean, we went the other day and a couple of friends of mine got some beginner pieces. So you're talking like digis. You want to put a digitator. Obviously
nice.
Capricornis, Istrix, go on. Well, Ceritopora guttatas, Pocket Stylophora.
Your plating Monty, I think they're. Although I know people that really struggle with plating Monties.
Oh, really?
I've always done okay with them. Yeah, I've had a couple that struggle with the Cadbury ones. They're calling up the purple.
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah, they really struggle with those. But yeah, I've got one that's just like taking over at the moment. I'm just breaking lumps off of it, which is a real annoyance because when it goes up against LPS, and it tends not to sting them. Some of them will, like bubble coals, will just sting and kill the Monties. But things like Duncans and stuff like that don't tend to. They'll just retract as the Monty grows, and they grow really quick. So I think you're right. Actually, in that tank, the Monty is growing quicker than any other coral, even the Chalice. And Chalice grow quite quick.
There might not be any logic behind this, but I've always said with a mixed tank, LPS are always a good indicator of telling you if there's ever, anything untoward or an issue with your tank, because obviously the fleshy meaty coral and they'll retract and blah blah, throw head, whatever. And again, I still believe the same with a stylo. You know, I've got a piece of purple stylo. You can't see it because where the camera is, but that is exactly in there. And yeah, it's not a Pikachu, whatever, and PC Rainbow, but it's a cracking coral. It's purple, it's fluffy, it grows really well, and if you get the right contrast against a purple and a green or a purple and a yellow, it pops. So it's there to do two things: grow and tell me if there's anything wrong in my tank. And that's just, again, personal preference. A bit of cannon fodder, I suppose, but it's there and it's happy. And whenever I know it's happy, I know that the chances are that the majority of the corals are happy.
Yeah,
and it's just an indicator for me.
And it's another one. The best stylo I had again was in the middle of the tank. There was nothing around it, and it had flow from all sides, and it grew out like that. The only problem is they're really thick sticks, aren't they? So trying to frag them, I find unless the nibs at the top, because they don't grow like a tabling, but they do grow out like that, and they're so thick.
I think some of the SPS, some of my favorite SPS tanks from, again, Instagram, YouTube, the internet, whatever, have not been tanks with dozens and dozens of different acros. They've been tanks with what I would traditionally call, a medium to large size acro, but not so many of them, and the colour combination mixed in really well. Because I do think a tank with large colonies looks a lot better than a tank with just hundreds of miniature colonies, personally.
I think less is more. If you can, and of course, there's always that frustration is, you said, you put one frag there, and it's like Home Alone. But of course, over time, 2 or 3 years, it will start growing out, and 4 or 5, even a lot quicker than that. It's brilliant, and also the color combos are really good. So I've got a green plating Monty, and I've put a red Blasto right in the middle of it. And the contrast of the popping of them. I mean, that's obviously not to SPS, but that is an SPS with a red and a green. It's great on the color wheel.
Yeah, I downloaded
the contrast that you got on it.
You can't see it because of the brightness. But I did exactly that color wheel, and you just look at the opposites, and it just makes so much more sense when you're putting stuff together. I think you can achieve more putting the right color combination together than having more corals, as daft as that sounds, in terms of impact of your tank.
Absolutely, because also if you have lots of individual corals, and you don't get the blend of the contrast, which is difficult because if you've got 5 or 6 corals next to one another, it's difficult to get that color contrast because trying to get 5 colors that are opposite is quite hard.
Yeah.
But even to get 2 or 3 together, you can get the contrast over. Certainly on 2, on 3 you can as well. And I think you're right because they both stand out, don't they?
Yeah.
That's the thing you really want.
They complement each other really well. I mean, I know you've got other factors, flow, lighting, etc., in terms of placement. But if you're getting the right level of flow and light into your tank, it shouldn't really matter that much. And I think for me, again, on my journey in marine and reefing, I've learned that less is more. So a lot of these frags will probably get moved on. Certainly not the ones from Christine with what I paid. But I think for me, it's like right. Like I said to Jay on Sunday when I met him, it's like, right, I need a coral that's this colour, not this name, or I need something that just like we're saying about the colour combination that matches it. Because you got to, I've said to Mogsy when it came last year, whatever it was, to look at the tank when it was dry. It's hard to do it sometimes because you're itching, and I'm in there at the minute, and frags are in front of me, and I want to buy one, but picture it in what you want it to look like in 2-3 years' time, and as hard as that is to picture it. Try and work backwards and be like, right, well, do I really want 3 red corals together or 4 purple corals together? It's all right saying, you can just take them out. But if they're encrusted, they're just going to keep growing back.
It's difficult because you to cut it and then put some rock or some milliput or something
over it
to take the light. It's the only way you can do it. So in terms of, if you was to take like a Monty compared to an acro, how would you treat those? Because obviously Monties are fairly easy. I mean, they're quite easy to care for, I think, as well, more forgiving than some other.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What's the difference for you in terms of your placement, your flow? What things do you consider when you're doing an acro?
There's not really much difference because I've had Monty Cap that I've grown, and because it's been an area where I thought it was getting enough flow. Because of how they grow and they scroll, they've actually had a negative impact on flow. So they've ended up holding detritus because of how they've grown. So I've ended up having to move a power head or add another power head, or I've had to frag quite aggressively to allow it to continue growing. Otherwise, sometimes you tend to see a lot of dead spots, and I don't just mean dead spots in terms of flow. I mean dead spots in terms of the coral where the detritus is just settling on it and you're not shifting it.
Yeah, it's not getting blown off.
Getting blown off. So I wouldn't really treat it any differently other than probably lighting. I wouldn't give it intense lighting because it doesn't need it. You can, and I've seen people give it intense lighting. But like anything, things adapt. We adapt as creatures on this planet. Everything adapts to, but over a period of time. It doesn't happen overnight. So I think you have to do it gradually. But if somebody gave me one now, not that I necessarily want one because, again, they take up a lot of room, personally.
They do.
They're easy
they
to
look lovely, don't they?
They
look super, especially when you get one piece and all of a sudden you get layers. And that's the bit I find fascinating.
A grafted one, which gives a bit more colour, obviously.
Yeah. So if I look side on one of the tanks, it started off as a small piece like that. It's now from the side, it's got 4 layers to it.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you think, how the hell did that kind of 50p piece
the power
grow into that 4 different layers? It's just fascinating. It's a completely different coral.
They're powerful if you've got, like I said earlier, about just having, X amount of large colonies in a tank, if that is one of them, and that's one colour of 4 or 5 different colours. They're very powerful in terms of a statement to your tank, and in terms of the growth pattern, it's really nice and different to, an acropora or,
yes, the opposite,
for me, but for me, they can be a bit invasive. They can be taking a bit too much room.
And
shadow all the corals as well. I've seen people put them at the top and then they shadow everything else underneath. So again, placement for me, I think I'd be more bothered if I had to have one, I'd be more cautious of where I'm putting it so it's not going to impact on other corals, not where I want it.
So would you put it, looking at that piece of rock over your right shoulder, you wouldn't put it at the top, you'd put it, so that piece there, you'd put it low down. So as it's scrolling out, it's not going to.
If I was going to put a Monty in here, I'd put it on the edge, right on the edge, right or left.
Yeah.
So if it's going to annoy anything, it's going to annoy the glass, not me.
And of course, as you clean the glass, it'll snap it off anyway.
Great, yeah.
And the good thing with that, you can snap them off and they'll just grow back. So you can, you know, if you want to take a little bit off, that's a bit of a problem. But you want to take a large lump of it, you can just crack it off, can't you? And it's it works a treat. Okay, so they're more evasive. So people with acros, what, you know, putting acros in your tank, what are you looking for in terms of the placement, your flow, all that kind of stuff?
Well, obviously, polyp extension is definitely up there. You know, is it happy? Is it waving its hands and telling me it's happy? Color combination, and again, growth pattern. You know, the way I picture and again, it's probably going to end up completely different as we all plan things in life. But the way I look at it, and I don't do this in my spare time, but it is literally like a bunch of flowers. As daft it sounds, like a flower arrangement. You will have your taller, longer stemmed flowers, i.e. corals, that grow that way at the back, so they don't interfere with the people at the front and get in the way.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of how I plan on doing it. I'm layering this tank. Again, it might not go according to plan, but, you know, this, so for example, staghorns, you know, can blast them with light, tend to be more branching. They're going to go at the back. Your teniuses, your millies, and other types, other species, they're going to go sort of, you know, middle to sort of a little bit lower down, and then the table and acros, providing the pars there, like that one that I've sent you on the group chat that's doing really, really well, that appleberry, that'll go lower, because I want that to do what a Monty would normally do and create, as a table, create a Monty effect. But because there's nothing underneath it, it's not shading anything.
And that's fine. And it probably won't be evasive because it's probably not going to grow as quickly.
No, but I've always said, if you picture your scape as like a pyramid, you know, like a 45 degree, you know, where you place things is absolutely critical. Because if you place things that are going to grow across and shadow things at the top, then you're going to have problems.
So keep them at the bottom.
I've done that, if you can, because of your other parameters, if you can,
yeah. Well, sometimes you end up thinking, well, I'll just place it there because I've got no other room, and then and as you say, it grows up, it's middle to high, and then you're stuffed underneath, aren't you? You can't do anything with it, and it's difficult to get rid of it because of the way it's encrusted across all the rockscape. Right, I'm just going to pause there, just go through some more comments, and then we will come back on this. So yeah, I popped up earlier on about picked up first SPS, staghorn, stylos. I had a Pavona, and they are, once you get those in your tank, they spread really quick, and I struggled to get rid of it. It took over. Nice though. There we go. My pH 8.1, but hoping to get CO2 scrubber.
In the pH in the chart.
As I say, having problems with the skimmer since doing it, so need to sort that out. Yeah. Don't know what problem you got on it, John. Mine was really easy, so reach out if you want, in terms of if you got any problems, want to talk it through, might be able to help. Lack of iodine causes red not to grow. Yeah, the minor trace elements. Right, where are we? My pH is always around 8. My SPS grow. Stick some in. Right, what else have we got here?
And there's some cracking cheap beginner SPS, like I said, with the stylo, that
absolutely
really can add a dimension to the tank. I'm not sat here like Picasso, but you can really achieve some different, you know, growth, like I said, different dimensions to your tank with colour and growth pattern, definitely.
Yeah, and also you can get, I mean, if I think of LFS, those ones that stock a lot of SPS. So again, I'm coming to AAC. They sell they sell kind of Monties and stylos and that for 10 quid.
Yeah.
So you get them as cheap in there, and they're based out as well.
Yeah. I grew a red digi. I grew a red digi into a massive colony, and because it was red, there's not many red acros about. It just really was just like it just really sung against like candy canes and stuff in terms of colour contrast. It was really good. And again, not expensive. 10 quid a frag, 20 quid a frag.
Absolutely, you can get those kind of ones we just put on the screen really, really cheap. You don't have to pay the news, and in fact, there'll be local people that will want to get rid of them and just break pieces off. So if I've got too much, I always have too much of an SPS. I'd say you can have a frag, blah blah blah. I'm not going to frag it for you. You come around, I break a piece off, and you take it. And if it dies, you come back and I break off another piece. And they were fine because I didn't want to faff around fragging them, putting them on frag plug. And you say, you have it for nothing. You break, just break a piece off. How much do you want? They'd be there when I'd done it, break it off, bring your own pot, put it in the water, bang, it's gone. And it helped me out because I was just throwing frags away. Because for somebody with
an LPS tank as well who maybe want to try it, to have a frag like something like that that's got a bit of colour and you can see the polyps if it's out and they're happy, but to get the buzz of it growing and seeing it growing, like John was saying earlier about the LPS not growing as quickly as SPS, or somebody commented about it. It will get you hooked and it will give you more of a pat on the back for your tank being right because you will see it in front of your very eyes grow. And that is one of the reasons why, many reasons why we're in the hobby, isn't it? To get that sense of achievement. It's not hard to get it, is what I'm saying. You don't have to be a rocket scientist.
No, absolutely. And then do you mount straight up or flat to help with the basing tabling growth?
That's
a good question actually, because you usually get it. They'll be vertical, won't they? They won't be horizontal.
I try and do it 45 degrees. I watched a video a couple of years ago, not so long ago, from Abe, Call Euphoria. We've all seen his tanks. He's not done a video for a while, actually. I think you know what I mean. Call Euphoria on YouTube.
Yes.
And he placed a couple of frags of the same acro. One was vertical, and one was 45 degrees. And the one that was 45 degrees based out a lot quicker and grew a lot quicker just simply due to that. I don't know if it was flow or I don't know. So I always try and put mine around sort of 45, 90 degrees. I'd definitely try and avoid placing them upright if I can, but sometimes it's not always that easy.
That's a fair point. Never thought about that before. It makes perfect sense to put it at an angle because you then got more on the surface area to allow it to base out quicker. Therefore, once it's based out, it's going to table quicker in theory.
It'll find its natural. Yeah.
Yes. It's just the speed at which it does it. And there's loads of other factors obviously involved, but it helps on its way.
Yeah.
Watched Jay's video yesterday. Signature frag is legit. Tom, what did you buy from there?
Well, we can talk now because the missus has gone upstairs. So we're all right.
He's watching though.
She's not watching. She's watching some vampire thing I downloaded for her. So I can't pronounce one of them. So I got Bada Bing, which is unreal. It's like a shortcake one. It's really nice. I got a limoncello, which wasn't expensive. It was £30, 35 quid, which I really like.
That's a nice price,
I got the slime ball and acropora because you can't really see it, but down there, where am I going? Down there is where my purple stylo is there. So the slime ball is like a really neon, like the candy cane, the toxic, whatever you want to call it.
Same kind of
yellow, yellowy green. And I just thought if I get the red one off Jay, because he says he's going to give me a frag of the TNT one, the Anacropora, I'm going to have a bright green, the purple stylo, and the red. And I thought they're going to really sing together in terms of colour. And they don't need a lot of light either. So I got the slime ball and Acropora, and I got the, what else did I get? Oh God, I can't pronounce it. Ferrero. Oh Christ! Somebody asked me this.
Ferrero Rocher.
No, it's not. Do you know what? I could eat one of those now. No, it's not. It was called.
They're not. Are they as big as they used to be, Tom? I'm not sure if they are.
Hey, do you know the best thing I will advise about Ferrero Rocher?
Go on then.
Do you know what they're good for?
No.
Other than eating, this is true.
Go on.
They are one of the best. They are one of the best coral viewers for free that you can get. So next time somebody buys you some Ferrero Rocher,
right? So not the chocolate. You're talking about the box, clearly.
Yeah, eat the chocolate, but don't throw the box away. Because next time you want to look at your tank from up above, they're brilliant.
Yeah,
especially the big ones with a 24 in it. They're brilliant coral viewers. Don't go spend 30, 40 quid on a piece of acrylic because it's got Aquamedic written on it or whatever. Just get a Ferrero Rocher tray. They're brilliant. Trust me.
Well, that's
honestly, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. I can't remember the name of it now.
That's a tip of the day.
That is, honestly. And they're really good for phones because you can get a proper decent size iPhone or Samsung in it. If you want to take photos of your tank, set the record button and let it float around your tank in a Ferrero Rocher tub. Trust me.
And hope a tang doesn't
It
come
works.
up and
It
knock
works.
off.
It works. It works. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, Fuera del whatever, but really nice. So we've got the limoncello, the slime thingy, slime anacropora, the Fuera del whatever I'm calling it, and PC Rainbow. PC Rainbow. And that is pretty awesome, that piece of rainbow. I must say, fair play to Christian. It looks as good in the whites as it does in the blues. And that's when I think you can really tell, you know, a nice coral when it looks just as good. Yeah.
He's good. He's good at maximizing that, because I've been there.
Yeah.
And I've seen obviously the pictures, and certainly when he first started the business, he got a hell of a lot of flack from people saying,
I knew he'd correct me. Tierra del Fuego. I knew he'd message me, Scott. Thanks, Scott. Really? Tierra del Fuego. That's the one. It's like pink with a yellow base, and it looks pretty naughty. It's nice. Really nice.
Nice.
Yes.
When he started out, he obviously with his photos and everything else, and he got a lot of flack because people saying there's no way they're like that. You're charging blah blah blah. Yeah. But when I went down there, the corals are pretty much bang on with the pictures.
Oh, definitely.
That I've seen. And how he gets all those colours, he's brilliant at getting the colours out of the corals. I've got to say, top marks to him on that side.
He does. He does a bit of LPS, a bit of gummies, but he sticks is his thing. And you know, you don't go to the butcher and talk about cabbages, do you? Is all I'm saying. He knows what he's talking about.
No, I don't. No, I've heard about the butchers as we pointed out last week. But no,
when are you going finishing off?
Kind of fooled, you know. Got to put. I'm trying to treat dogs.
Oh, fucking violin! Go get some choc dip and sit in the deep with your lunchbox.
With flippers on. Right, I think we'll move on. Right, what we got here? So hopefully, Mike, that answers the question. pH is 8.43 at this time of night. Never goes below 8.35. Absolutely. Calc all the way. Nice one. See, I'm not going to read that one out. Tom, that growth on Pearlberry is nuts. Pearl pH power.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Right, there we go. What else have we got? Right, I think. Do you know what? That's a good call. That Forest Fire Digit.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah,
they are nice, aren't they?
And the bubblegum one.
Yes, because you've got one that's got the red, and is it kind of bluish? And then
that's the bubble. That's the bubblegum one, and the Forest Fire is the yellowy green one. The Forest Fire one.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Let's see. I think I'm just scrolling down at the moment.
Maybe we should do a poll of how many people go to bed and then for the first 10 minutes they're in bed think of the tanks, because I think everybody must do it.
So what? No, what? All right, so I'm going to do a poll.
I guarantee you, I'd love to know the percentage of people that when they get in bed every night, how many people think about their tank before they close their eyes. Not a dream of the tank. Just think. No, because I was thinking about it. I was thinking like. I bet you did the poll. I was thinking earlier, like how many people must think? You know, like people, like normal people. And I'm not saying there's not normal people in the reef community, but I'm not normal, clearly. But like most normal people, be like, have you let the dog out or the cat out or whatever? Have you fed the gerbil or the rabbit or whatever? You know, have you locked the front door? Have you locked the back door? You know, but with reefers, it's like. Did I turn the RO machine off? Did I feed fish? Did I turn my auto topper back on? I don't know. Did I turn my heater back on? Did I feed the fish? Or did I do my alkalinity test? Or I don't know. I just think there's a lot of people that will. I'm hoping I'm just not a random nutter.
We've got 1 minute on it. We've got 1 minute on that one. I wish you said that 10 minutes ago.
Sorry, I've just popped into my head. Sorry.
Well, yeah, right. Okay, I'm just going down. It's all about can you kind of fall 24 Ferreros? Yeah, if you can hit the thumbs up, that would be absolutely welcome and wise. Oh my good God. Cool.
Cheers, Joe.
I'll take that one. Joe, take that one.
Oh dear.
Right, or use Pyrex dishes. I can't tell you what, getting some cracking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Good idea, Batman. Think of that.
Right. Okay. I'm just trying to whiz through before I run out.
Oh, yeah. 30 seconds.
Loads of bubble gum. Right. Right. I think I'm at the bottom. We had a rush of comments towards the end. Right. Tom, I have Wi-Fi cameras to check on the tank and sump when I'm in bed.
Yeah.
Oh dear, brilliant. Right, okay, let's go to the
poll. Come on,
71.
Please tell me I'm not the only one.
Yeah, you're not alone. It's 71% yes.
71.
29
wow.
Say no.
So
it's over 2/3.
Wow.
Well, there we go. I wasn't expecting to do that poll or that outcome, to be fair. Right. I think on that note, we are going to wrap it up. I'll let you all go to bed and think about your tanks, because clearly 70%
that's what you do.
of the people on here that do.
Yeah.
But there we go. Right. Mind you, it was actually, compared to the other polls, there was only 7 people that took part, despite all those people that said, I don't know if that skews it, but poll is a poll. Right, we are done. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone that's joined. We're back next week. I'm not too sure if we're going to be with you or we're going to be with Steve. It depends if we can sort out the channel.
Yeah. Channel
and
we'll
get
try.
a video uploaded, because you can't find your channel on YouTube, I think, without an upload. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
So we need to get that sorted.
We'll sort that this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Have a great weekend. No problem. Yeah. Stay salty. Till next week.
Absolutely. See you next week.